Yeah, so we came in about 4 this morning, here for like 2.5 hours, and they sent us home because she wasn't progressing. She was in what they call latent labor, so having contractions every like 3 minutes, but they weren't strong enough to do a whole lot. So they sent us home thinking we might be back tonight, and about 3 hours later her water broke. So we are here, we're admitted, dilated to what, 5? And we're gonna meet our girl today. Here's our room. Nice big room. The Lord's good, and we have actually a friend from church that's our labor and delivery nurse, and it all just worked out perfect. How you feeling?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Kind of scared.
A little bit nervous, but contractions aren't too painful right now. Yeah. Keep breathing. Awesome.
Hey you guys, and welcome back to another video. From the title, you know what this video is going to be about, and I know it's late. It is about a year since my daughter Selah was born, but I thought, what better perfect time to do it than around her first birthday. One thing that I love about YouTube is that it's kind of like my little video diary. I didn't start my YouTube channel until a few months ago, so I didn't have a YouTube going whenever I gave birth to my daughters. I know that there's like literally no time for extra things, it felt like to me, and then it just kind of felt like it was, you know, a while past or whatever, so I never got around to filming it. And so now, once I've started my YouTube, I'm like, okay, now is the time. I'm going to film this so that I always have the details, and then also I can share with you guys. I never got to vlog that whole experience, and I didn't do my birth story on YouTube or Instagram or anything, and I had a lot of people on Instagram, a lot of people asking for my birth story, and I was like, I'll get around to it, but you know, in the whole newborn stage, postpartum, all of it, this is a positive birth story, positive birth vlog. I think it's important to share the positive and happy birth stories because I feel like as women we hear a lot of kind of scary birth stories, whether that's from, you know, people like women in our family or friends or just online kind of like traumatic birth stories. And I know for me that really kind of terrified me going into motherhood and just getting pregnant in general. It really did scare me, and it kind of pushed back my wanting to get pregnant at all. So I wanted to share mine because mine is really the opposite of that. It was a really wonderful experience, and I want to share that with you guys in hopes that it can encourage maybe a new mom who just found out she's pregnant, or if you are contemplating wanting to have kids, and you have that anxiety around birth. So going into just thinking about what I wanted the birth to look like and everything, there's all the different opinions on hospital birth, home birth, birthing center, natural, whether you have a medicated birth, whatever. Me, what I decided is that I wanted to have my baby in a hospital. That is where I felt the most comfortable. Your body progresses quick whenever you're the most comfortable and relaxed, and I knew for me I would be the most relaxed and comfortable in a hospital setting. I did want to have a doula though, so I hired a doula to be there with me and to just be there like an extra advocate, because whenever you are doing a hospital birth, you don't know who your team is going to be and everything. So it was just nice to have someone that I did know kind of going into that with me, who was very knowledgeable and was very pro being as natural as you can. Absolutely amazing. I got to meet with her a couple times before and just kind of go over what I wanted and just kind of our plan for, you know, obviously you can't plan for everything, but my hopes and, you know, what I would hope to happen. I also had my sister Elena there with me, which was so just special. I was there when she had her daughter, so I wanted her there with me, and then obviously Nate was there, and that was kind of my birth team. I decided also that I did want to get an epidural, but I wanted everything else to be as natural as possible. So I didn't want to have an induction, no other interventions, if you will. So the only thing I wanted was an epidural. Again, I wanted to feel comfortable and safe. And for me, I do not have a very high pain tolerance, and I didn't want to be nervous. That was the plan. And so I'm kind of going to get into actually how everything went down the day of. Let's see. I was having a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions for like weeks leading up to it. I started having my first Braxton Hicks contractions literally at like 17 weeks pregnant, and that did scare me. And I know this happens quite often. I called my doctor and everything, and she was like, you need to rest and drink water because that can happen if you're just kind of overdoing it. But I had contractions pretty consistently throughout my pregnancy. Did pick up in the last few weeks from probably 35 weeks on. I was having a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions where I was definitely feeling pressure and just a lot of tightening, and it was uncomfortable. But obviously nothing to actually progress me and to throw me into actual labor. I had been going to the barn a lot, sitting on my horse, and she's very, very safe. I trust her completely. So it was, my doctor gave me the go ahead that I can continue to ride gently, doing that a little bit the week of that I went into labor, and I'm convinced that helped. I don't know, I just feel like the motion of my hips and just kind of like freeing everything up, I feel like that helped. I was also doing dates and pineapple juice, you know, some of the things. I was also doing raspberry leaf tea, and I feel like all those things helped prepare my body for labor. At 38 weeks, and I was having some contractions about, I would say, like every 10 minutes the night of the 17th, November 17th. And I went to bed and I felt them, but it was not anything too much, and I was definitely able to sleep through them. And then I woke up at 4 in the morning. I was feeling some contracting, and obviously I'd never done this before, so I didn't know what it's supposed to feel like, but it was different than what I had experienced so far. And it's weird whenever you haven't had contractions before, because it's like, I don't know, you expect what you see in the movies and where it's like intense and like all of a sudden you're like having contractions, and it wasn't like that. It was kind of like small, light period cramps, I would say. Yeah, very light. I had an app, and I started tracking when they were happening, and it was the whole, you know, you want them to be a minute long. I think I'm remembering this correctly. If I'm wrong, whatever, I think I remember correctly. They needed to be 5 minutes apart, a minute long, and is that it? Just 5 minutes apart, a minute long? I don't know. Whatever. So I started tracking them, and they were every 5 minutes, and I let that happen for at least an hour before I woke Nate up and told him, because I wanted to make sure it was like actually something happening. We kind of got everything together. I had already had my hospital bags packed. I had already had everything for baby packed. Everything was ready to go. Car seat was in the truck. I had thought that I was going to go a little bit early too, just because my mom and sisters always did. So I was hoping. So we drive to the hospital. It was dilated to a 3. and I was actually having contractions every 2 minutes. They were just pretty light. So I went into triage and they hooked me up to the machine and they were, you know, monitoring me and kind of seeing where I was at and if I was progressing. I did not progress for the hour that I was there. So the triage room was quite full. So they were like, why don't you just go and like get some breakfast and walk around, go home, relax, whatever you want to do. But I bet you'll be back tonight. So I was like, oh, okay. Like at this point, you're so anxious and you're just so ready to have the baby that it's like, oh, I don't want to go home. We went and we got a little bit of breakfast and we took a little walk. And then I went home and I took a bath. My sister was like, take a bath. If it's real labor, it's going to speed things up. If it's not real labor, it's going to relax you and the contractions will stop and you'll be more comfortable. So I was like, okay, perfect. So I got in the bath and was feeling pretty good, definitely feeling contractions, but they were not like painful. When I was walking, I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable. It was not painful at this point. Let's see. Then I got out of the bath and went and sat on my bed and I was messing with some things that I needed for the hospital, and my water breaks on the bed. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not expect that to happen. I feel like a lot of times your water doesn't just break. I don't know. Like you're usually like in full-blown labor when your water breaks, or like some people get their water broke. I don't know. I didn't expect it for my water to break at home, just sitting there on my bed. So anyways, my water broke and I was like, oh my gosh, my doula's, and I'm like, my water broke, whatever. We're gonna go back to the hospital. So I had been praying over like the whole time that I was pregnant. I had been praying over just the birth and different specifics that I wanted to happen, and just that everything would just be orchestrated how it's supposed to, and that everything would be smooth, and that I would not have any traumatic experiences or anything like that. When we got to the hospital, one of my friends from church was actually there on shift, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, are you having baby today? And I was like, I think so. And she was like, well, I'll be your nurse if you want me to. So how perfect is that? I had somebody that I knew there and going to deliver my baby for me. Like, I love this. So we got into the room and I got in my little gown. They checked me again and I was at a 5.5 and progressing really well. So we got into the room and it's kind of surreal because you see baby bed and the little hat and the swaddle and everything. It's like, wow, this is real. This is actually happening. I, at this point, am pretty comfortable. Like, I am progressed and like dilated to a 5.5 and having contractions every 2 minutes, and like things are going, you know, like I'm in labor, but I was expecting at this point for contractions to be way more painful. I don't know, like they were not that bad, like period cramps-ish, a little worse, but nothing that I was like doubling over or like losing my breath over yet. And that was surprising to me. I don't know. I was like, okay, like this is going great, whatever. I decided to kind of sit on the birthing ball and just kind of, you know, do circles on it and hang out. And we brought a bunch of like fruit and snacks and stuff. And so I was snacking and it was great. It was going all good. After about an hour of being there, my contractions did ramp up a little bit, and I decided to go ahead and get the epidural. I was nervous to get it. Not that I like was questioning my decision to get it, but it's just kind of scary. Anesthesia and a needle, I don't know, it was just kind of scary. But you guys, the epidural was totally fine. When they inserted it, it was not a big deal. They give you a shot of lidocaine and it just numbs you. That feels like a bee sting. Like literally, it's not a big deal. So you sit on the edge of the bed and you're going to hold a pillow, kind of like this, and they have you bend forward and the anesthesiologist is behind you. Your guy usually stands in front of you, you can hold your hands, whatever. That's what happened. He was like in front of me. They just kind of sterilize everything. They give you the numbing shot, and then, I mean, they talk to you, make you feel comfortable, everything. don't look at it. I did not look at it, and I knew not to because I knew it was, you know, a big needle. When they inserted it, it was not bad. I did not feel pain at all. You didn't feel anything because they numbed you. Like, you literally don't feel them put the epidural in. And then, you know, you hear all these things online and stuff about like, oh, the epidural needle's huge and it's like dangerous and all this stuff, whatever. They do insert it with a needle, but then they take the needle out and there's like a catheter in there. So you do not have the epidural needle in your back the whole time. That's just not true. So, piece of cake. And then after that, a few minutes, they had me lay on my side. I was really comfortable. My legs felt kind of heavy and warm and just relaxed. Like, I was totally fine. The contraction pain went away, but I could still tell when I was having a contraction. So I would still kind of feel the tightening. I would still feel a little like, it was perfect because I wanted to be able to know like when my contractions were happening. I wanted to know, I don't know, what was going on in my body but without having that like intense pain. So it was perfect. And my doula was like, this is a really great epidural because of those reasons. So at this point, I think I hadn't progressed a whole lot, but then someone had suggested like, do you want to do Pitocin, whatever? And I was like, no, my body's done all of this up until this point. I don't need Pitocin. And that's what we went with. My doula worked with me on some different side lying positions and different like movements with my hips and just different positions to get in stuff to help progress me further and to progress labor faster. And I went from a 5.5 to fully dilated within an hour by myself, no Pitocin, nothing. And that was crazy. I was like, wow, because I could tell something was definitely different in my body, and I didn't know if it was like the catheter I was feeling, because they give you one whenever you have an epidural, because obviously you can't like feel if you have to go pee. You know, that's just how it is. So I was like, is this like tugging on me? Like, is something uncomfortable? Because I was definitely getting more uncomfortable. But they were like, oh my gosh, baby's like ready to be born. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely like her head that I'm feeling. It's insane. It's so crazy. It's crazy this has happened. This is just crazy experience. I have music playing and just very relaxed. Like, I'm like feeling good. I feel confident, and pain levels were not bad, intense, but not painful. And then my nurse came in, she was like, okay, are you ready to start like pushing or whatever? I ended up choosing to have a mirror, and I didn't know if I was gonna want that, and I ended up actually liking it because I could kind of see like what I was doing, if I was pushing correctly. Like, I could see progression, and it was encouraging. Some people might hate that, but I actually liked it. And so I ended up pushing for 45 minutes ish. My doctor came in right about when baby was about to be born, and she was like, wow, okay, like, we're ready to have a baby. And she said something that was kind of like, you're a no drama mama or something like that. And I felt proud of myself because I was like, okay, good. Like, wow, I was so scared of this, and I was so nervous and all the things. And like, I'm doing this and I'm doing a good job. And like, I don't know, being relaxed and calm. And I did take some like online birthing classes in case I ended up like not being able to get an epidural or something, on helping you with just like the correct way to push, the correct way to breathe, all those things. And like, my doula and my labor and delivery nurse worked together so well, and both helped me really well on those things as well. And I think that made a huge difference on just how everything went. So yeah, I ended up pushing for about 45 minutes, and I will say the last like 10 minutes or so, like when baby's actually like coming out is intense, and you do feel some, like, you do feel it. Let's put it that way. Like, the epidural does help immensely, but you're still going to feel some. And I remember it just feeling like really intense, and there were tears and whatever. But then as soon as your baby is born, it's like the most amazing experience and the just biggest rush of emotion ever. Oh, another thing, this was another answered prayer. I didn't tear. Like, what? I was so scared of that. And so there was no tearing, so that was really great, and I think it really helped my recovery. So that's really good. Thankful for that. She was 8 pounds 3 ounces and so chunky, so adorable. Okay, so
One more. 2 more minutes.
Gotta soak up that sound of her heartbeat. That's one thing.
Yeah, relax your legs into the stirrup. There you go. She's a joker.
Look how chunky those legs are. Look
So chunky. Yeah, cheeks for days.
You did it. Look at her. I got her like you just need to be right there with her. She Pull this wet blanket out, okay? Get her on
Yes, that'll work. That's fine. That's good. We're doing better. And you still want TXX? Hold it for now. Is that okay?
Maybe 3.5 hours last night. Well, yeah, she had a fever like every 2 or 3 hours. But yeah, so when she was born, I mean, really, Leo was like, she had a really good epidural, just super good. Just
like the biggest rush of emotion I've ever felt. And I would do that over and over and over and over again. It was the best feeling ever to your baby be born, and then they put her on my chest and she's just like squishy and warm, and like you've just waited for this moment for so long. And I just remember like sobbing, literally sobbing. And I remember like looking down at her face and being like, oh my gosh, she's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And she had the roundest cheeks and the cutest little nose. Like, I just remember, like, I can just like picture everything right now. It's just amazing. Like, you've been pregnant for 9 months and you've anticipated this moment forever, and then she's born and here she is, and it's like, wow, is this even real life? So crazy. So anyways, that is how everything went down. Chose to do delayed cord clamp or delayed cord cutting. So that's just when you wait a little bit to cut the umbilical cord. Nate ended up cutting the cord. It was just really, really sweet. Nate was so encouraging the entire time. He held my hand the whole time, talked to me every contraction. Same with Elena. Like, they were so encouraging and just praying over me, and it was just a really, really sweet time.
It's your first morning. Come on. Stay good all night.
French toast.
Good.
No last minute questions?
You know what? We are prepared. We're ready.
Yeah. We're
Think about
going.
it. I mean, we asked the nurses a few questions.
Okay.
So, Sayla, we got a funny puppy.
It's okay, Bella. This is your new sister. You're being a good girl. It's a little square thing.
So, anyways, that is my birth story. Whether you have had a hospital birth, a home birth, a natural birth, a medicated birth, a C-section, whatever, you are every bit as amazing as the next woman who maybe did it different. I think I'm going to wrap this up here. So, love you guys. Bye.